Hello and welcome back to another episode of Rebound with Resilience, a podcast dedicated to raise your resilience, mindset, and mental wellness. And on this episode, we have our first ever student guest, Jeven. You want to say hello?
Hi, I'm Jeven. Nice to meet all of you. Thank you, Kevin, for having me on.
Well, yes, I'm so happy to have you today because you're going to provide a perspective, you're going to relate to students, at the same time, also help parents or adults see our perspective, right? See a perspective of a student. So today, I think, as the podcast title suggests, right, we're going to talk about bullying, but before that, I want to give an introduction to Javen, all right? So he's a 16-year-old student who was once a victim of bullying for an extended period. And with some help and shifts in mindset, he did manage to overcome. And now he's doing well in school. He's also captaining his school's floorball team, right? So we first met at a campaign, and eventually he was kind enough to be featured as part of our photo feature series. And from my interactions with him, he's a very mature, very insightful individual, and I'm very sure he will add a lot of value to you guys today. So yes, Jeven, you looking forward?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, that's nice. Now, today we're going to discuss bullying extensively, okay, as well as other common stresses in school and how to overcome them. And this topic is very emotional to me because I've seen firsthand how bullying can affect people's mental health and possibly cause them to take their own life as well. And there's a saying that says, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's nonsense. Words are extremely powerful. They can uplift you, they can also tear you down. So today we want to explore this topic and see how we can be better, be more aware, right, of our actions towards other people. So Javen, yes, enough of me talking. It's time for you to share. So yeah, could you share about your story, right, of how you actually became a victim of bullying?
Okay, so everything started out when I was in primary five, when I started doing not so well academically, like against my peers.
Okay.
And because I was put into like this top class, right, I was expected to score straight A's,
Mm,
meaning 75 and above for like all my subjects.
mm,
But then to me, because the subject content from P4 to P5 is a
mm,
very huge gap. And then I didn't really do well in school. So
sure.
that's how everything started.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what happened from there? So you didn't do well and you had issues with your work, right? And so I believe because
Yeah.
of that, people saw you differently. Is that right?
Yes. The environment there is like Hunger Games. Like
Okay,
how I would describe it would be like Hunger Games.
sure.
It's like it's like one man for himself, and
Mm,
everyone is trying to be the only one surviving.
okay.
So they will like go to great extremes. For example, right, I was the last in class for my science paper in the first test. So because of that, people actually started like calling me names, giving me labels,
Mm,
saying that like I will never be able to do well in the future
mm,
because I did badly in primary five.
mm,
So because back then we didn't have mobile phones, so
mm,
we used Facebook to like communicate. They would sometimes leave comments like in my inbox,
mm,
like telling me that I won't make it, like to like not try very too hard
mm,
because like at the end of the day I will still not do well also. And because I got affected by what they said, I actually didn't do well in the end as well.
sure.
Yeah. Then as for the teachers, right? Actually, it's only one of them.
Mm,
So what she did was she like there was this very tough worksheet that everyone had to do. So she told the whole class that they couldn't refer to their textbooks. But she pointed at me and she told the whole class that only I'm allowed to refer to the textbook to look for answers. The way she said it was in a very condescending manner.
mm,
Like, who wouldn't feel hurt?
mm. And how did the students react to that? Did they laugh? Did they, snigger at you?
Yeah, from then on, everything just went downhill. Then they just started laughing at me.
Mm,
Made
okay.
me like feel small. That I'm nothing as compared to them. I was
Uh,
trying to ignore the comments that people, like the comments and labels that people had for me. But it was like very hard. It was like 39 against 1.
right. Sure. Sure. And I want to take a step back, right, and mention that when we do this podcast, right, it's not to point out or call on people in that sense. Because I think that, okay, we are calling on people, but we are not saying that they are bad people. Because I think a lot of them grew out of it already, right? You were saying that was happened way back. A lot of them probably grew out of it. And later on, we're going to explore like why people bully in the first place. But it's also important to still address it as it is, because we cannot just say that because people have baggage, then you just let them bully other people, right? That's not fair as well. The reason why, in a way, it can be seen as bullying is because, like you said, right, it's actually singling out a particular trait with the intention of harming somebody or with the intention of putting somebody down. And that is actually the definition or an aspect of bullying. Even though they may not have been aware of it at that time, and yes, it could be fueled potentially by their need to win, their need to just be the best. And to you doing badly, right, helps to elevate their confidence because they say there's one less person I need to compete with, you know. But regardless of that, right, how they made you feel was you're less of a person compared to them academically. And even and your teachers, I guess the comments didn't help as well by singling you out and then people laughing at you, people putting comments on your Facebook. And that's cyberbullying as well. So that is definitely in a way classified as bullying. And I think you mentioned that you dreaded going to school, right? In the morning when you wake up, that's the feeling that bullies, or rather the people who are victims of bullies actually get. Every morning when they wake up, they have this feeling that of dread. They don't want to start the day. And it affects the mental health a lot, and I think you can agree with that and you can relate to that. So the question is, right, let's talk about how you overcome it first before we explore bullying. How do you actually overcome?
For me, right, it's like when I got the news that I would like transfer classes, right? Transfer class. I felt like I actually felt quite happy about it because then like it would sort of like get me away from them. The bullying would decrease.
Mm.
So I was actually quite looking forward to what life would be like in P6
Mm. Okay.
because like the people in the class that I was going to were much friendlier.
Okay. Mm. And in that sense, so you removed yourself from the environment. And that's one key factor in actually bullying. You have to remove yourself from the environment. Of course, in this case, you were lucky that you got put out. It was a blessing in disguise for you. Because the
Yeah,
moment you were removed from the environment, you just felt that that burden is being lifted, you know.
yeah.
So that's one important factor. I think if you're a victim of bullying, right, and you're listening to this podcast, you have to find ways to remove yourself from the environment itself or stop people from actually doing that. And we're going to discuss that a little bit. But before that, let's talk about why. Why do you think people actually bully? In your case, right, what do you think caused people to bully you?
It was probably that sense of like superiority. Like they felt that with their high marks, right, they could just go and like bully others because they think that they have the right to.
Mm,
Plus, I feel that even though they like bullied me, right, they might have felt, they might have experienced the same thing in the past,
okay,
which made them do what they did back then.
sure. Yeah, that's very mature of you to think back and come to that conclusion, right? In fact, I want to share a little bit more on that. This thing that you described, right, is actually called social hierarchy or dominance. The studies have shown that's one of the main reasons why people bully because they feel that they have a right to, like you mentioned, they're on the top of the food chain, and our society kind of puts people subconsciously when you do well, you are kind of like better than other people. You have the right to kind of look down on other people. And also, society, in a way, affords these people with more privileges, right? You get better resources, you get more popularity, you get more likes. And so, in order to maintain that dominance in the hierarchy, right, people will bully other people because they want to maintain that privilege. Yeah, so that is one theory behind why people bully. And of course, like what you mentioned, if people face that void in the past, right, they will bully other people to feel like to boost up their self-esteem because their own esteem is not being anchored by anything. So we talked about that. Now, why do you think people are afraid to stand up against bullies? Of course, in your case, everybody was against you. Feel everybody was against you, right? But was there anyone that stood up for you during that period?
Not really. Like nobody cared about it. Like, they were probably afraid that the bullies might do the same thing to them because he's not really doing well academically as well,
Mm.
but he was
Right.
like slightly better than me.
Sure. I think that's a common reason, right? But people are afraid because they themselves feel like they're gonna get bullied and everything, or they lack the self-image to stand up to people. But do you have any advice for students who might be facing bullying?
If they are facing bullying, right, it'll be like best if they could like speak to someone they can trust, like a trusted adult or like your parents. From there on, right, maybe they can like help you to solve your problems by talking, giving you some counseling in a sense. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. I think if you are facing it, right, you should seek help from an authority, whether is it your teacher or whether is it your parents, and something to be taken seriously. I mean, recently there was a news, right, like by a Malay girl that was bullied by her Chinese classmates, and then the minister had actually to step into the school. It was a primary school as well, so similar
Yeah.
experience to you. And I think in primary school we're not that mature yet, and we are kind of like social learning, like you mentioned. So everyone just does the same thing. It's very easy to do because it's a group mentality. But again, it's no excuse. And I think people who are facing the bullying need to actually stand up and seek help, either remove themselves from the picture or allow the authority to actually stop it. Yeah. And one thing we want to explore today, right, Jeven, don't mind me if I just ask you, because if you're listening to this, right, you never know if you could be the one bullying other people intentionally, you know, because sometimes you don't know, right? We say certain things and we think that's okay, but actually it could count as potential form of bullying. So let's define bullying a little bit better so people know what it is. What is the difference between teasing and bullying? What do you think,
Teasing
Jeven?
teasing is like in a joking manner.
Okay.
While bullying is like doing the same thing, but in a more condescending manner.
Mm, okay, very good.
Yeah.
It's a good distinction. In fact, right, teasing is shown to supposed to build bonds among friendships. It's a banter. Sometimes we say stupid things about each other. How it builds the bond a little bit. There's no intention to harm the person. Whereas in bullying, there's a clear intention to actually harm the person, make the person feel a bit lower. In terms of hierarchy, in terms of whatever, in terms of worth. But understand that sometimes, right, even as students, we're not the line between teasing and bullying is very, very fine. Okay? So we gotta be very careful because you say certain things, right? And then you think that the person is not offended, but he or she might be offended. And a good way to tell is that if the thing that you are saying, right, if the person prides his self-worth on that particular thing, then you don't want to then you don't want to say it because it's going to affect your self-worth. For example, if you tell me, Jeremy, you tell me now that, oh, I failed my math for A levels, I no longer get offended anymore because it's no longer a part of my self-worth. But if you told me that maybe a couple of months after I failed my math, right, then obviously it will affect my identity. So it's the same thing. We got to be very careful, right? And it's not just if you're listening to this podcast, right? This applies to not just in school, but in any form of relationship between peers, between your co-workers. You got to be very aware whether your words are offending somebody, even though you think it's just teasing. All right. So that's the difference between teasing and bullying. The next question is, what's the difference between conflict and bullying?
Conflict is like it can be resolved like more easily. Like because
Okay.
conflict is like more of like an argument. Because like sometimes both parties may think that they're right.
Sure.
But then like after a while, maybe like one of them will like come to realize that they're in the wrong, then they apologize. While
Right.
bullying is like a non-stop cycle.
Mm,
You just keep on like bad mouthing about another person.
mm,
Be it like yeah, verbal or cyber bullying. It's more toxic than conflicts.
mm. Yeah, definitely. Thanks for sharing. In fact, right, I would like to educate and share with the audience a little bit. You let me know if this makes sense to you, okay? Jeven, I just got this from a book called How to Stop Bullying in the Classroom. I actually borrowed this before the circuit breaker. All right. And there's some key differences between conflict and bullying. So conflict, right, is okay, let me share with you. So conflict sometimes is accidental and is unplanned. Whereas in
Yeah.
bullying, there's an intention to hurt and usually is planned as well. All right. In conflict, both parties have somewhat equal power. It can be a group project and then they're just arguing and stuff like that. Whereas in bullying, the power is there's a clear imbalance. Right. There's one person that has more power than another person. In conflict, like you mentioned, right, both parties hope to get a solution most of the time. Yes. And conflict can actually move a relationship forward. Conflict is good because you know what are some things that people are upset about. You can move the relationship forward if you have good conflict management skills. It's a necessary part of group forming and group performing. Whereas in bullying, usually the bully just wants his own way. He doesn't want to solve it. He just wants to bully the other person, right? And the last thing is conflict. Oh, I already said this. Conflict can progress a relationship, whereas bullying can destroy relationships or even life. So yeah, there you have it. Difference. I hope you guys get some perspective on this, okay? So you all know the difference. So that concludes our sharing on bullying. We hope that you're given a better perspective through Jeven's sharing as well. And definitely this is something that you need to take seriously. So let's go into the next part of our podcast, which is on school life. So apart from bullying, so apart from having to face bullying, right? When you went to secondary school, what are some common stresses that you face as a student?
Definitely academic stress. Because like you got new subjects, then it's like there's a certain criteria you have to meet in order to promote to the next level.
Mm,
And plus, there's like more commitments such as like CCA. Because like sports CCA, there are like competitions every year. And then
mm,
like you miss lessons, then you have to make up for the content that you miss.
right. Academics is one. Is there any others? Okay, so maybe not just yourself, right? But looking at your peers around you, are there any common sources of stress that they face?
Common stresses like maybe family induced stress,
Mm,
relationship problems, or like just overthinking in general.
sure. Yeah, we still do that a lot, even now. But talk about your family. So can you elaborate a little bit on that? By family, you mean pressure from parents or
Yeah,
just
it's like
mm,
high targets for them. Like, like, boy, you must get straight A's, that kind of thing.
mm,
It's like when a student, like typically Asian students, right, when we don't do well, some parents will actually like say something that will degrade them.
mm. Okay, and listening to people around your age, right? What is one thing that they would like their parents to know, or they would like their parents to kind of do a little bit more?
We like the parents to know that grades are not everything. Even though they are like, okay, they are like letters in a child's report card saying, like putting them to like where they stand among their peers for a certain subject. But bear in mind that these are just numbers that will only affect the child temporarily. I think that parents should focus more on their child's attitude towards everything. So like, let's say if a child's attitude for learning is good, right? Then he or she would have like no problem in doing well.
Mm.
Plus, they also should like take note of their interests and passions instead of just focusing on academics and sending them to like tuition classes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I mean that's so important, right? So what about yourself, Jeven? What is your own perception towards grades?
For me, grades are just like letters that determine where you stand among your peers for certain subjects. And they're not as important when it comes to like comparing grades with your personality, your attitude.
Mm.
Yeah. So like my SS teacher, whenever like sometimes he would like backtrack a bit from his lessons.
Sure.
And then he would keep reminding us that skills are very important because like there are new demands in the market around the world. So it's like, for example, like the government gives $500 to or
Oh, you know,
to everyone over age 25, yeah, so that they can spend it on like courses to upgrade and enhance themselves.
I think just to add on to that, right? I mean, Aristotle once said, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all, right? So, like you mentioned, it's not just the grades, but also the attitude, how you treat other people, your personality, whether you can work with other people, and on top of that is also your skills, because company pays you for your skills. For you to get compensated, you need to generate revenue for the company, and it requires skills to do that, specific skills. And that's why I always share with students like yourself, right? That you've always been told go to school, get good grades, get a good job, and set for life. And that I'm not discounting that. That's important. But understand that when you graduate, right, there are thousands of people that will graduate with the exact same degree as you. All right. And on top of that, you have AI technology replacing jobs. You have COVID, randomly events like this that disrupt the marketplace. So what differentiates you from the rest, right, is not just your report card, is your vision, your ability to communicate, your ability to lead, your interpersonal skills, the collaboration skills that you develop. So all these things are actually super important, leadership as well, right? And I think this is something that you learn in your CCA. That's why I'm very impressed, when I speak to you, the things that you share with me. Yeah, so keep it up. I think all students should hear this message, that they don't not just focus on the grades alone, but also the grade of their character. So yeah, so moving off of that, right, let's talk a little bit about resilience and failure because that's part of the podcast theme, right? So how do you think, I mean, how in your experience, how is failure generally perceived among students?
Failure to students, right? It's about failing an exam,
Mm,
getting that D7.
okay.
Yeah. Then it's like whenever we fail, usually we feel very upset. Like
Mm,
for me, when I keep like failing A math, right, I feel very lost. Because
mm,
it's like sometimes I try my best, but it always comes up with like a very bad grade.
mm,
Then at points, right, at certain points, some of us also give up.
okay. And how do you know that they give up? What is the signs that they give up?
The sign that they gave up is basically they stop trying already. It's like they are so numb to the failure that
Mm,
they just don't want to have anything to do with that particular topic.
okay. And wow, that's a very that hits quite hard actually, Imagine not wanting to try anymore. Um then what happens next? Do they just resign to the fact that they are gonna get their grade for their major exams?
I mean, like some of our friends, right, they just sort of like decided that they should just focus on other subjects
Mm,
instead of having that subject. So they chose to drop it out.
right. Okay. Well, I think this is a tricky topic to talk about because, on one hand, right, failure is a feedback. It's telling you that certain things need to change. But so to me, if you don't do very well in math and you try your best, right? Let's assume that you try your very best, you don't do very well, then the feedback could be that maybe your talent actually lies somewhere else, right? But in this case, I think, right, based on what you described, it's not that. I think in this case, they can definitely do better with a little bit more coaching, a little bit more belief. Just that for some reason, because they have the repeated failures and because they don't have enough guidance to teach them the proper techniques, then they just, like you said, drop the subject or give up. Yeah, so that is a line that we need to be very careful with by saying that, either that this is not for me, I want to do something else, or that, you know what, I can still do my best in this, but in future, in my poly, in my JC, or even later on in uni, then I can focus on things that I'm really passionate about. Yeah, so this is something to think about for sure. And how do you attribute your resilience for you? Because you seem very resilient individual, right? And I know you're captaining the the floorball team as well. I went to watch one of your matches, and yeah, your peers seem to actually really look up to you. Your peers seem to really look up to you as an example, as a person. So could you share with me like what, if you have any advice for students to build their resilience?
Just like don't have the mindset that to give up. Because once you tell yourself that you're gonna stop trying, right, you will like really like don't want to do that thing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like just try to have the mindset that you still can do it.
Mm.
Start small, basically. Like let's say for a certain subject, right, you don't do well. You can start revising topic by topic.
Mm.
Try to like ensure that you have mastered that topic before you moved on. And then you can have like mini tests to like test yourself. That's for academic lah. Then as for like non-academic, so for the non-academic part, right, it's like you are playing a sport or developing an art skill.
Mm.
Basically, just keep trying. Ignore all the negative comments that come your way, because those are gonna hit you hard for sure.
Mm.
And they will like give you the message to like stop doing it.
Mm.
But they should like have the mindset that they should keep doing it lah.
Yeah.
So that they'll eventually come out great one day, and sometimes even better than those who degrade them. Yeah.
Sure. Let me add on to that. That reminds me of a quote actually when you shared that no one can hurt you without your permission. And no one can hurt you without your permission. You have the last doorway to your mind. And I know it's very difficult, especially in an environment where everyone is talking bad about you, like your experience in the past, right? But if you just surround yourself with positive, right? You tell yourself that I will not let these people have the better of me. I will refuse to let them win that war in my mind, and I will just focus on what I can control instead of what I can't, right? Which is their opinions and their thoughts and whatever. But what I can control is what I put into my mind and whether I decide I want to continue to carry on or not. So yeah, thanks for sharing. And yes, I think with that, we more or less come to the end of the podcast. Jeven, it's a pleasure to to have you speak to us and share your experiences so authentically. Maybe if some of your peers are actually watching this, listening to this podcast, right? What would you want to share with them? Maybe your floorball juniors, or your friends. Yeah, share with them something to encourage them. 1, 2
Yeah,
liners.
like even though people look down on us, like we are still good in our own ways. Don't give up. Yeah.
Okay, great. Last question for you. What does resilience mean to you?
3 words. To put it simply, resilience is like 3 words. Don't give up.
Okay, nice. I like that. Thank you once again, Jeven. We're going to close for today. Just say bye to the listeners.
Thank you. Bye bye.
All right, guys, stay tuned for the next episode, and we'll see you guys next time.